obanga okenda naffe ate hwakubali hulisokanga huwelesa husonga tsihalindwela tawe ohurekeresa mushirimba shano shemumbale mubisinza bidwaniro byahalitwa tawe hobelenga huwakanira humukola live update. You can get us on TikTok, YouTube channel, Facebook and other social media platform. Aluna hulusha aluna hulwa balasa ila bifu hubili kama humikabili biyo kumwesimu na kwa nekesa mwiko kwe bika humikabili na musambu o July 20th 2026. Aluna hulusha lilo we have Zay Abas wetaka lecturer NRM civic fraud na ishiri wana mwe iliyota so yes naye ulihuza huba mbonga wemenita tisonga tsihalindwela tawe na ubanga uhubona aburangiso bese ubanga hwakanhireho wobone manya ingola inda isibini hubanga weekendamo ini huberena tisonga tsihali indwela tawe papa basa habenga ahushesaho no benga hutandihira weno papa shesaho munulumla yo mukwala
nasimire musakuru banyara ko cyaza kwano kerero ndo musanyufu kuboneti kerero ndi kwikale kungaye muziro mazefe ziziyamba kwigwanga lyefe bamasaba NRM Civic Front ili duli NRM ligana liretere ba member ba NRM kumanya kye kukola na dala ekibina kyawe wambagana buye butangirisi byefuna na byosira na byene ni babatu kwivesawo. So it was the missing link yabere ho mu NRM. Ubona fene bali mu bunyala ne level of awareness yekemabi atenge fene kusinga kuba ni seminars zisinga bugali fene kusinga kuba ni training zisinga bugali nenga wada bole mu action za kudiyoti kuchidamba. So atano kugana nabe ba member befa beni kyesikona kuti civic competence bamanye kye kukola lokubali mateka malayi ikolenda ye government nebi biza mumoni byolesa biti batu befa kidambira kali kunikuba bolera bamanyi ate banyene zisonga zayo bazihambiremo ikyesikulanga kuti oyo citizen umutufu mwikali weli gwango umutufu alini kuhamba bunyala bwe abukota. So that is the relevance of civic front. Then ngakwamalira ekyo kusilira nirigwanga lyene lyose hena esi batu banyala baza niyo bamanya kye kukola hakali mu NRM. NRM dominating ngabye butangirisi ya dominating all sectors of life. Katanonga walete civic awareness mu NRM wile holete civic action uboli kuyedali gwanga koza mumaso. So the existence of NRM Civic Front is not an issue. Lokuba hari a gap ingali between decisionists and actionists, and then between actionists and awareness on the other hand. Kali nolo icho kajiro bonoti kuluwero opposition dera sawayi ibasa wabone karolo kakawa kone nelabula nalo maseti Civic Front will have an upper hand era koza kumaliza when we have an upper hand. Tikulukuza mu byero C1 fukukolere muri mogwe ku registering aba member ba village councils kusinga bugali while the rest were asleep. Kakuli faction kakuli different aspect of NRM kuli the full members of NRM bamanyire batikuni ku taking up those duties and responsibilities. Atuniduya in some areas village irimo batu 15 they have only 500 people base fekosobola ku registering kuba bola kutupo bunyalabo igamani go kubonoti ulondo mukulunda tangirira village. So let's kuganikira hano again. We are dominant when it comes to elections. Erona bona outcome niye na kuganikira more than talking. Wadenga ni kuganikana ko kuganika. So knowledge wanyala kundeta kwano kubite ko muzisonga zefe zikuli bigiso.
Okay.
Ni basaka naga meo
kale umundu mkola life update ni Zay Abas wetaka nga alula bya pokopoko hurra ni kubisomesa actually hurra mbisinza bya huno la alwa NRM Civic Front ngaje usale ita wetaka utandisha wikinga tsibili hutandihe mu Congo Minister of Local Government Balaam baruhagara.
Yes.
Abanga launching shesi balanga bari anti corruption crusade.
Yes.
Yaba ibulambuli la wabonanga byatsa huwe bulambuli nga babandu iyo bawambibule muri mu district nginia niyo bandi bakali buse bulambuli yoshira wambire okwetsa waena Mbale district actually niye senyowera Mbale district yes yenyewe wabonanga licho wabonanga dio bandu bakristo babenga bawambiwa batsire paka ina misindwa ne hwali hanga most bakristo head of departments inga bali humbiro abandi nga babelenga bahola barenda babele mbonga abawambiwa babera no mumbale namye ndo wamenyesha beleo ile sinomera naria inginiyo district yembale nayo muambe uambale site ali hundimo ni abandu bakalisa anti-corruption campaign namwe sumukosi Balaam alangira ari expose the corrupt in local government. Program yulenge tandihira mu bisinza bya Masaba. Maybe hutandihirano shini tandihire Masaba
kata
ngabashobotse humula nkusonge nyene nguruta
Masaba ebeza galake buli kitu by the way kinadikiza gire Masaba wamanya oti lutalo ro independence rone kire Masaba era Uganda enokuza kufuna ini independence wamanya oti baguga benye bisoni byenye niyo baba to the forefront biraho batawuninga amapesa because they were rich. They put money to kubairinga Uganda nga bali kugitaya bati muri ni capacity running ali gwanga yes kuni resources we have it ichenga account zebugiswa cooperative union ubone and we had billions of shillings there na zindiza sigala mu East African Currency Board with the Bank of London chiko zikila imingiza gada paka kelele so buli kinani kirebugiso wamanya tutalo NRM nani kirebugiso President Museveni ngana nika Fronansa aba anebugiso basakuru benye bandi bafu delete Musamali banatolo banano those are icons. Professor Dani Wadada Nabudere, those are icons. Benye bebugiso everything begins in the Bugiso. Sasa kale kana very surprised namanyeti Balaam is following the same footpath the sad younger bandi bakikola everything consequential mu Uganda starts in the Bugiso kali nolecho it shouldn't kikaleta but bibasaga bindi manya kaba kugana manya binano those are out of the way then demand ye kulwani senguzi ndiena nikirebugiso. I remember my first meeting with His Excellency the President. Then where do we start from? Let's start by fighting corruption. So, and the best things begin here. That is what the nation knows. And when we catch a cold, the rest of the country sneezes. So, Norocho, Balaam was coming to Bugisu, follows that trail and the trend in history. Then also, when the governments also want to change, again, whoever comes to Bali goes back to Kampala and loses power. Go becoming any popular ways, but the war was in the best. So everything consequential in Uganda begins in the Bugisu. Then the rest of the country picks it later. So Balaam, he follows that trend. President. Again, he loses after coming to Bugisu. So both the welcome and the farewells are done here. We are very consequential. We are fire. It is a myth I cannot explain, but it is something you can point out.
How do you assess this campaign?
Campaign yo Balaam is part of the NRM struggle against the corruption. Ne nganubone zitalo zosizana zitalo producing both heroes and villains. Heroes iti iliyo ba standing at their ground babo nabati kulwana paka kumaleko, and when the victory comes they get decorated bafuna zichape, but yes, you have won the battle, therefore you take the prize. But it also brings villains within this battle iliyo falling on the way. Yaba yobakanyesa kunda busisa jese muri kulwanirira yaba yababona rutalo rwasidoire bali maafe kwinyusira makono kwazire. So the battle against corruption is not a simple one, it's a tough one. But send ni challenges to, whereas Balaam as Minister of Local Government is doing what we promised, because it is in the NRM manifesto to fight corruption, and we brought Kisanja Hakuna Kulala, Kisanja, no corruption.
Term no sleep.
Term no more sleep, as the president puts it, and then term no corruption. So he's picking it from there. However, Balaam kumusasire, number one, from university, Balaam has never been in any formal employment. For those of you who don't know Balaam was a student of commerce. He did a Bachelor of Commerce degree in Makerere, and then he specialized in marketing. So he's a marketer. Sengo mumanyire that he's a marketer typically. Ukatambizagako in formal employment. Uwezere. His weaknesses are known, and his areas of strength are also known. Nibasawo na mu campaign atusayo all the marketing skills he can kuselling the candidate called Yoweri Museveni. Ni other candidates, members of parliament, are producing those results.
What is the weaknesses and the strengths?
That's where we are going. Now, one of the strengths of Balaam is that amanya ku exposing a chibi akitunda mu bantu bakifugirisa, which is already done, and which the president also did. Amatiza babantu first thing anoba not mu NRM ni Uganda ngeboneti kugana kulwanisa inguzi kujimalewo. So in terms of messaging, in terms of demonstrating that that's what we don't want, akakugana inguzi Balaam achikolere bulai. In other areas, I'm calling him a successful scaremonger. I want a scaremongering. He has done a superb job. Everybody is scared that corruption is bad. But that notwithstanding, weakness is very apparent. Kekubolere where weaknesses begin from. Jino myaka gitakuba gitano. Mu myaka gitano nga muza kulwanisa enguzi. Government trying to balanga bati a position paper. A cabinet position paper. Iyo lesa ngiri esikuza kulwanisa enguzi. Ya expressing roles zizo buli muntu yolesa where exactly we are going to go to fight corruption, because we are talking about public sector corruption. There are other forms of corruption. Now that cabinet position paper is not there as we talk now. So Balaam is like a person walking in the wilderness, not knowing exactly the way which will take him where he wants to reach, but simply groping around in the dark in order to find the direction. Now kajiro bwana adabula aza ni kwisomera addressing abana abana ati mukasasula school fees da. In that case ogana bana bita headmaster. Do you want the children to kill the headmaster and the bursar? Because those are the people who collect school fees. Yet you know wamanyo tuli ni government structure ili kukao chief administrative officer mwabako plus other officers paka ku chief paka ku parish level. Mwawa ni education officers ni ba officers, and you know their roles. Now, what was the director of the kugani students in front of the headmaster ni basigani. Musasula fees but kusasula fees. Kusasula siringizenga kusasula mitwalo 18. So what do you want them to do? Mob justice or to rebel against the school? So that's where I tell you he has no experience in public sector management. So in that case, all bad are causing it to be interdicted. Police, which is supposed to do the investigation, but finding it very hard to do the investigation and also to come up with competent charge sheets. Vosinga baza ku police basinga bugali baba police bond. If you have been taken to Ruzira but facing anti-corruption court, but at the end of the day you will see what evidence will come and who will be the witnesses, because Balaam will not appear as a witness. So that's where the weakness comes from. Secondly, ingana usiri Balaam the marketer as a minister of local government is probably misplaced. You can imagine he thinks Kulwani Senguzi is part of marketing, but he is more of a scaremonger. One on the Minister of Public Service, there's General Katumbu Wamala, there's Lydia Wanyoto there. By the way, Kulwani Senguzi. But have we seen them in the newspapers? They have not gone to the newspapers. Why? Ba manya exactly the way to touch. Ba manya what structure, it's a department of government with the officers, with the authorities, with the superiors and inferiors. with the people who should be able to do the job. Now, Manya, we have bodies that help fighting corruption. One of them is the CID, that's the police. Another is the Inspector General of Government. The other is the State House Anti-Corruption Unit. Those bodies, after evidence is done, the witnesses collected, then charge sheets are prepared without doing the populism. Actually, I called Balaam's trips as anti-corruption populism. Yes, we are about to the consider. Yes, I could do none of
that means what? Anti-corruption populism means what?
Anti-corruption populism. Kugenda we already some about the Koran Senguzi, Kifu affected me corruption bakulindide, ubaganikeyo. After that, you go away. Then you leave the problem the way it is. I challenged the people of Lambuli. Now I said, look in a mukamo hila mweri go ni countengaji. Then you force Balaam to finish everything before he leaves. Because it is impractical to finish the battle against corruption when go mutu in 1 day or in 1 hour where you have been meeting and addressing those people. It is a long and protracted process. Kekuboli, he has not touched areas of procurement where the demon of corruption lies. He has not touched the political heads who are behind influence peddling. Because if he had dared to stay for some time in Sironko, politicians influence most of the corrupt deals is a mass. Gaba sending a road fund. They also take a cut from the road fund, so that those politicians must also be arrested and be included on the charge sheet. The entire structure and the network of corruption by focusing mainly on civil servants. By the way, they are easy to catch because they are the accounting officers. But at the end of the day, the hand of corruption even involves contractors. No contractor.
Maybe just briefly. Yes. We saw in Bulambuli.
Yes.
I had Honorable Diara.
Yes.
And LOC5,
yes.
So on and so forth.
Yes.
They almost collided.
Yes.
Because we had in background that maybe they have the interest.
Yes.
Maybe the people they want to arrest.
Yes.
They have interest. Maybe they are their own.
Yes.
Also in Bulamisindwa.
Yes.
I saw Honorable Musira.
Yes.
And LOC5 Emma Bugayo.
Yes.
They almost fought. Those are the same. So.
Exactly.
And the minister raised actually the question in Misindwa,
yes, about
the roads committee, because the MPs they're supposed to be on that, members on that committee.
Correct.
So now how they eat how is that 100 million?
Yes.
Has not 1 billion? 1 billion.
1 billion
for road maintenance. Yeah.
Yes.
1 billion. If you were a member on the roads committee,
yes,
and 1 billion has not worked,
yes,
what's the work of the MOP there on that committee? Being a member.
And nobody was arrested. No MP was arrested. Instead, the anti-corruption theatricals. And Balaam enjoys that because he's a marketer. So these people crash openly and they are seen, because after all, his mission was expose the corrupt. Now, Balaam is very happy. He thinks he has achieved his objective. The corruption is very kill, because these are crashing in front of you. You cannot charge them. They are being seen by the people, and after that, the media captures them. Actually, the road fund was used for campaigns. The incumbents, by digging themselves into the money meant to do the roads, but for campaigns. Atiba covering up by doing paperwork very fake. So by being there, he managed to expose that. But after exposure, then what do you want us to do, the ordinary people? Do you want us to kill those people? That's why I tell you, Balaam is fighting corruption. However, because of little experience, public service management and operation, he talks about the problem, leaves it there, and then goes away, making it far. Now, when you come to Mbale City, I am one of those who say, whether Balaam will succeed or fail, whether he will be a hero or a villain, watch how he is going to handle Mbale City. Because you see, he's a player in Mbale City. Did you see the people following him? Those were his friends. Those are the people who are suspected of corruption, and they are escorting the minister, and are taking tea with him, and so on. So I told everybody, I said, watch how he handles in the city. If he manages to arrest his friends, if he manages to interdict his friends, with whom he gets land plus properties in Mbale, then Balaam will be doing the right thing. To me, his biggest low side was in the city here. Number one, hata we baraza kalokutana. Then akyusa ati vero mukaga. Then alomati ndongenda kubapak, then they came late when everybody else had gone. From nowhere, but Balaam made a Kampala. He needed totally nothing here. At a said about it, he has no capacity even to implicate anybody or even to expose anyone in Bali City without exposing himself as being entangled in that corruption network. Now, kulukudiringa ni problem is serious. Babone Sako. Problem ya corruption is serious to the extent that buli mwaka government ifirwa trilioni 16. Nga bakutera kuba lwanisa corruption ya kusawa eno mumbali mo. Do you know that I can raise 1 billion in a day? Easy money. I don't have to plant coffee and sweat in the gardens to make 1 billion. If you send me to fight corruption, and I said my mission is not to eliminate it, but to have a cut of it, I can raise 1 billion in 1 week. Why? The corrupt fear to be exposed, the corrupt fear to be sent to jail. So for that reason, everybody would be running to bribe me. You get it? So I say, we must protect Balaam so that he doesn't fall a victim.
So now
of
you
the
say
bribery.
you say in Bali he scored 0.
Bali City he scored nothing because he was entangled in the land wrangles, entangled in the properties here, and therefore fled from the hot potato. So, fenga ba NRM ko nikulwa na mali ko kuti protecting our ministers, we protect our workers, bakadabula ku level where they will be profiting from corruption, because it's 16 trillion, it's not little money per year. If you consider a budget of 84 trillion, then 16 trillion is just be buli mwaka, you can see how people enrich themselves. Ngogana kumanya why corruption is the most thriving industry. Find out what the salary scales of all investigators under the office of the Inspector General of Government. Do you know they have some of the best hotels in Uganda? But they earn, their salary is 1.5 million monthly, plus a few allowances, it comes to around 2.5. So what deducting the pairs you earn in this guy? Actually, their take home is not more than 1.5 per month. But he has put up a multi-billion enterprise. But he was an investigator under the Inspector General of Government. So bafuna record see what why ba mapesa. Beza bako tisa ati wabo gula kenguzi waba. So that's why I was struggling to make sure I protect Balaam so that he doesn't fall a victim of that. And actually, my biggest letdown is that he did nothing in the city, because the center of corruption, the center of rot, the center of public proliferation, the center of grabbing is actually Mbale City. Mbale City, if you checked rent, rent alone in Mbale City is higher than Kampala. If you checked the land transaction is in Mbale, it's more expensive than Kampala. It is not because we have a big corporate class. No, it's because of corruption. So money stolen all over Uganda is actually cleaned in Mbale. So for that reason, Balaam had the biggest test of his life here. He failed to expose, he failed to interdict anybody,
now,
he simply fled.
But now you say he failed in Bali City. But we saw a commercial officer was taken. We are a PDM focal person, Northern State Division. Actually, commercial officer, they were complaining that she had stores, over 3 of them in lockups, in the Bali Central Market.
That is flogging a dead horse. Let me tell you, Minister of Local Government came and reallocated those stores. About Ngabeza hano bahamba stores, bazi had the people who were in those stores. So, which kind of charge sheet are you going to put on him? Una proving got half an allocation here, Colatier. Una proving got us as a rent.
Actually, she confessed to say before joining government, commercial officer. This is her statement during the baraza at Mayor's Garden. She said she got that lockup when she had not even got the government job or becoming a commercial officer. So she used to work in that Central Market before joining government. So she said she has the clinic, a drug shop in the Central Market there. So that was her say on that.
That's wonderful.
And they said, you are a government worker, you're not supposed to have a lockup there. They said they're going to remove from her.
No, they are going to find the problem. Nibasawabo not Hanoi, it was a big letdown. Where are the big land grabbers in town? bese Balaam are dealing with, where are they? Because that is a flimsy excuse. Then if you know PDM and Visigale, there's a whole line, including in a Misindwa, including Sironka and so on. These are just the what I call
Shomanyi soramba hata kubandu batini kweasi wala tsinyeni zezimbo ufute sani ho ambaho,
and it will be very difficult to come up with a competent charge sheet. Kubantu besa picking hano what is there is no competent charge sheet which will be put on them, and there will be no conviction. I can predict that one. Hano aleka everything intact. Issues of land, where did they disappear from? Issues of health. Wamanyoti Bukonde Health Center 4. The in charge is a lab assistant. And the Balaam had this. Balaam had those petitions. Much added. The in charge, Bukonde Health Center 4, is supervised by a lab attendant. Atengeri qualified doctors who would be supervisors. Wamanyoti Nakaroke Health Center 3, the supervisor is a nurse. In the regulation is the supervisor should be a clinical officer. Those clinical officers are working under people who cannot supervise them. Why? Corruption. Wamanyoti plus so many. Now, when you are looking at roads, at how it is done, if they had a position paper, go to Kuhenza, Uhambe, Babi, if you unanikira stores. The man in the stores knew controlling each and everything. You know that they came up with forging documents. Balaam ari mtaune. And me, I imagine, he knew that they were forging and his friends were to forge, finish what they are doing. That's why they even postponed the Baraza. Baraza jita mu cricket. And that's what I go Baraza mu chambers. Because there were no people. So for that reason, this university, Army is handling the whole thing and fled from the region. So he did a very substandard job. Yes, university, NRM will have to review, repackage, and then relaunch the anti-corruption crusade. Because it's not too late. He's after all only the beginning. The minister has never had public service experience. He has been in marketing, and in marketing is superb. That's why he was full of, in other scenarios, I call it this is an anti-corruption chivulu, because he's a chivulu man. His entertainment is his area. So he organizes for us those things and brings in many things.
Anti-corruption event.
Yes, they are anti-corruption chivulus. So they not necessarily exposed as he did it, not necessarily effective methods of sorting it out. But I think from his own experience, attesting that very keen on eliminating corruption. And good enough, the appointing authority has been on the ground. Good enough, we, the cadres of the national resistance, have been on the ground. We are going to help in that. The role of the chairman of NRM in fighting corruption cannot be underestimated. When you are coming here, had he had a position paper, he would have known that area yes because of more leadership in NRM, the structure of the party is there. Who would be more keen to see corruption out than the owners of the government? The owners of the government, you already call a campaign before.
Actually, in a misindo. I'm going to scenario in a misindo. This scenario in a misindo events bonad. Bahuru. Baramba the ONC, yes. The office, in office is what? The office of the national chairman.
Yes.
Raising the issue.
Yes.
Ngabeki itara this way na misindo.
Yes.
Actually, una hulara this afu na gunzu bwanga achwe na misindo.
Yes.
Ngaba raising the issue ngaba bari. Ngaba hakaho balaba na masomelo.
Yes.
Abali ku issue ye baba na ghost.
Yes.
Students.
By inflating the numbers.
So,
yes.
Bari ngabete ho balaba na bari giso.
Yes.
RDC,
yes.
Bahakahuba ngahasa bahuru ba ONC hola shina.
Kuba
laba na abo shina.
Yes.
Ayiga barezi ngeisho bari. Shina shikila afenga kwasi ndiyo ni office of the national chairman.
Yes.
Kwetsire mu district huramba ko muri mokwefe.
Yes.
Shina shikila RDC ahakahuba ngaho hasisa. Era bakana buzubu yanga akina bihuvurira diso na misindwa.
Yes.
RDC diso.
Yes.
Twera ni giso. Abantu barigiso nabo nange basabara giso bani kumutimiso we waena. I think Magare Town Castle.
Yes.
So not mistaken.
Yes.
So shindu shehu itu sa singaba government.
Yes.
Ini barambi bakola hu RDC giso. Inamba ugaso nibo mbashe sangino manye hubanye ho lisumeno leli limuna inamba yo bana abo masomero kuri yabatse hota what buli machani yechigenda what is their work
kubolere yambagana ni ku verify namba y'abo bana besi government isasulira masomero ga government muri mogo baguhambisa internal security organization kagira obona giswa alimo kagira obona giswa alimo niyo mukama wao kuja security nike kubolere nguzi kesi kukolere yenge Uganda inguzi nyoye yagirire batu bandi bafunire mirimo bandi bafirwe. That's why I told you about villains and heroes. Villains beza bagula bifo bafuna mirimo. Now some of those top officials you have mentioned baliho because they were propelled by that 16 trillion economy yenguzi. Now nga bafunire mulimo na bibasa bati bana nikire kufuna yes baza kufuna mu mapesa kagiye kolometi nga naganire 1 billion now. The easiest way is to start fighting corruption because in a collecting is a money and they will bribe. That's why Balaam must not succumb to these evils. Because baleta mu office zaba maintaining mu office batambira bamukama bawe nga bagabana mapesa throughout. Issue yega masomero because I'm a teacher, I know it. Niba commissioners from Ministry of Education are benefiting from those inflated numbers. Na babeza nga baba tumire kukola auditing, they negotiate with
what
the
you mean
auditors.
it is a full chain?
Yes, it is a chain. That's why Konyala Walwan is saying Guzinga government carry ni position paper because how then will you hold you accountable? I am holding Balaam accountable based on my own standards. Kubani position paper would hold Balaam accountable based on the position of government. Whether the kukola A, B, C, D, wachi kolena mepao. These were the outcomes we were expecting from you. Do you have them? As of now, Balaam anahakat. Why? Because it is me holding him based on my own standards, my own view on what the party is like. Then I have a position paper from cabinet, position paper adapted, officers to do the job. Now we are in the up, which we call in the Balaam, because Balaam is a lonely player. And if Namere is quiet, why is Namere quiet? Look what President Akromata Yomba Gama Gana Kuganikaga. Why was Namere quiet? Because Nayaba was she the one negotiating the deals behind the scene? Given her temper, but Aniga Gamango, but where the samples in, the president told us she would have seen the drama more from Balaam than from Emma Wai. Emma Wai is a victim of circumstance. Look over here, Agana, I call it something that will help that district. Namishuda, by the way, is a unique issue. New Hesi Kota hopes for reviving, rejuvenating, and making NRM better and the best. When grassroots, even when our people are trying to rebel against us, about independence, has somebody tried to read the message of what happened in the mission? Looking at Flaga Bear of the losing the election is about independence because we had set the mission as a standard. Nibasa for the first time over the mission by voting for young people, which is very conservative. You see, at my age, they call me a youth. They don't want to.
I don't know when I overkill Soraba and the best of who am Baba. Yes. Shinohoma Bahuba Halino Musango Muribari and Guzita Huba. Bunny Hola investigation. Singashibanga Shitu, of Chris or Compress, Cavandis who am Bono, Tony Kilaka, like the one of Rua. Eddie Masita, who is Nesra President Ari Ongela Mena, Bala, Teresa. No, that's sorry about the complex because
yes,
investigation is money and Bariata. Yeah, it is alleged until in Uganda, everyone, every suspect is still innocent until it's proven guilty.
Correct.
So,
Katanese ni baseti, bale befevo, besiva mentioning it, Wabatani Kupingo, but joining this anti-corruption fight. Number one, I must congratulate that headmaster who called it a full disclosure. So no, Baba.
Poto primary school.
Very good. By the way, I grew up around there. Na manya hovula imaru. Uncle Saba chief or so ebengo na kuisaza kuwe ne Poto. Ngabachiri hadwani huwa wala because that is part of Greater Bwabwala. Baji Kalamole Itaron. Your headmaster, I call a full disclosure. How much he was getting from that deal. Who the other beneficiaries were. I call it in public, before the media, before the cameras, information is there because he's already a suspect and he has admitted a wrong. But if he wants to help Uganda, help the country and be a good cadre, he will become a hero if he does the full disclosure. Wijukira permanent secretary balanga bati bakasha ba Berohanga. Bakasha ba Berohanga admitting that Senate Dienguzi. So ndikugana musonyiwe. Actually on his own admission he was convicted guilty. Bamugwa. Obona the reaction of the public. Alama pao. Oyunga atulire ya disclosing this corruption. Mukabuada forgive him. Atulire yakubolere other areas. By then yaba spirit Rwanda Senguzi Kerry as more determined as now. Send you said at Mudu in the Yekulwan Sengus. If these people disclose, if these people show you where arrest has gone, we can as well come up with an act of forgiveness. Do you know that Uganda has an act of forgiveness, especially when you have been involved in armed combat? Now, if we can forgive the people who fought and killed some of our people, then the corrupt can be forgiven. If we come up with full disclosure, telling us everything that you have done, and then giving us the spirit that in the future you will not do it. We can decide whether you go back at your work or not, but the act of forgiveness can be made on full disclosure so that this nation can have a new chapter. Because President is serious, and I think Balaam has seen his mood correctly. He has also seen the mood in the country that we are no longer smiling with the corruption. At you are messing it up in the country, you see the careers, you are destroying the people. Even those who still actually end up in a disaster, they don't succeed wherever they go.
Okay.
So we're going a new chapter. So
okay.
Let's come up with a full disclosure. We can have an act of forgiveness later, but we need to follow the entire trail because they know better, because they have been involved.
Okay. Umondolo mukola full life update kushiri ni Papa Abas wetaka wa NRM Pacific Front alikubola ku campaign ya Honorable Balaam, Minister of Local Government isari kwerenga alochinga mwina mboli Uganda husolanisa boli bwe wongo ubumano kama muleka makaribu sabulolo unyina babanga buyeta bana Uganda ba karibu sa across the country. Wabone mu comment section video tibanga tiambiwa itse nembarara itse Masaka itse Hoima where everywhere. Kwabona abantu abelenga ba appreciating campaign ya Minister Balaam. But one abantu balumabari what I'm seeing, people are saying applauding the work the Honorable Balaam is doing. But one thing they are saying at the side of professionalism, the people who does political shows or who follow the things of politics, they raise the issue that maybe they appreciate the Balaam's work or minister's work, but they said maybe it could do more better when you are going in the sector of education. You move with someone who is expert there. When you reach at the district, maybe that person is the one to face the question. They say the question Balaam is asking, maybe he could move with experts like in education, health. He could be the one questioning maybe engineer, education officer, and ETC. Because they're saying, they gave the example maybe of Bulambuli, where minister reaches there, and they also came up with a tape measure, study. So, ata niho banga holarien, niho banga atuma lugudo ETC. But maybe harachen lemanya niba expert in different departments, see like local government, motion, and gawata buleyo. Baba ndi wano bari menye bihara birusire mu kamera. Kuba umundu, the issue is umundu kasita ulangirira yo muife bina right away. Police muambe. Ngawula barishin singa itabo professionalism campaign yewe ware babandu beminese bapoko poko. Nibana Uganda basomera basa baraburangisi government nyamalisanga. Ini kampesi kesi holerien itakusula abantu bano why unesha kumukamba anyolenga ambao evidence umundu isi ba muswaza bisi nalie mebalika alina DHO mebali ingini ETC government tambe bujulisi
yes
inaendinga pugi husula mapesi wobunore na abantu bahudo bariyo. How do you see
that net comes ikigobola yese chese kulomere kutinga government iza kukola kitu cyose kigali inamikira ku policy level chese kulomere ti kana hati sawe no what we call a position paper of the whole government on issues of corruption. Mwene mniyo muba nano unakola China task yo nano inaba ku China ate kiza kutakinga where. 2 kupima luguudo is okay nawoga nokakasembo bakuba bati ano futi mukaga surely first kwa soma ko nasari nya wapi mafuti mukaga kuba ni zirula ni set the very early stage wapi for the minister to verify. That is oversight. Superb. It's good. 2 send mudwerolo uwe baseti kulwa senguzi kukatula mu kamera da. The third estate must be there. Eresa na lombe na koloma sete wabo ni engineer we bulambuli andiko bule se nekale mu muboyera mu mugosi gwekafu mujesa mu butale bwose be mwakala ko mu police bond muno mutikale yira yengo no ni adabulengo mutawati bana beba muteba bati baba kwabone ku social media bali ko kujesa ni mugosi gwekafu kina kibera but bana bati nayi pa mapesa gerugudo. So you are put to task. We must make corruption so risky and so bad.
Mundu kumuramuka mela kumugamba afure government.
It is all right. Government
busa.
It is all right. Government government is wrong. But government must destroy corruption. Corruption yaza kukoa to the extent that konya la waru anisenguzi security da. And that's where Balaam does it better. Because he must show, demonstrate and impress it to the ordinary person and every citizen that corruption is risky business. To me, he's not going far enough. I have also argued elsewhere that we need to do public executions of the corrupt. In China? In China, if you get suspected of stealing, it's like you are already guilty. But trying, you know your fate. It is a public execution. They hang you in public. Now, ngawasi the public service system is operating globally. No public service system is more efficient and more effective than the one of China. That's why China is growing and developing as fast as it is. Experience here China, Iran. That's why Iran is not running short of missiles. It's not running short of drones. Why? Very efficient and very disciplined. So we need discipline to return. And the discipline can only return if we shame the thieves. It becomes so shameful. Kwa example, send in yanko se azo here cases. You know why? Atulebu jiswa tena azo cases. Ngachiri umufuko mujechi ni amakwamba ingire palo. Ayomba ni baba we. Muku yomba ako ole sababu eru alati we nganako wambire kuganombo. Wamanya how they can rejected. Chika chinyuka asichana ma we ulukutisa tisamuzei adu yabula muvupa njifuma abikumenyengo actually agienda for us we didn't know where I'd even gone anina aza kutrain ibale aza kanaza pake kasasa because kasasa was the last destination of the train atife kwibasa kutafa kali ona the man came when he's 78 ni yako kolengo with grown up children bana bakani karukonyi he has just come back ate kumufujiri sago bora muchika they had again to bring him back as if the dead person has resurrected and his properties were still there. So the moral fiber and senguzi is very weak in Uganda. What you call it security. People will pretend that you see all along they have been innocent but witch hunting because they don't agree with this and that. Atutu dabula politician no so very witch hunting because of political reasons. Then wa manyot very bulwesi kuloma kuti nayo ali corrupt bamwambire bamuteruzi community ye yinyuka us. You saw the memory model of Tesla going to the president and saying forgive Anita Mo before even being charged and tried. Now go for a bit bifana bit. You know how many times but bali corrupt you feel with you baso hapo na prisawa bati na ndu tukale bamu forgiving ile kwa babi baba bagali ne bahamba mu modwe. Now, in that case, you defeat the very purpose for which you are meant to do it. Community must know that corruption is bad and bad. It is injurious to the community. So, no, for that reason, Kugana Batu Babe exposed. I'm one of those who said they should be exposed in the absence of a position paper by government. 2, agencies, the one is a corruption is illegal. You don't need an engineer to interrogate an engineer in order to know that he cheated. You need a good CID officer, train the CID officer to interrogate and even be able to state that what he has just mentioned constitutes a crime and therefore a charge. on which we can convict him. You need a good prosecution officer umanya at this case when it goes to court we are sure of conviction. That's what you need. So for that reason Balaam it has a position paper by which you can hold him accountable, and the government must get serious.
Rofukirizo wajeni ni expert huba nabona huchenda ni State House anti-corruption I think ni obalio
ali ni CID aba ni State House anti-corruption unit aba ko with I think some investigators from IGG, and he's backed by several agencies. However, they cannot do their job in that minute when Balaam is addressed.
They are saying
they need time.
Babe ni experts in that professional. Bia husoma maybe no babe nabo bia Balaam nganie kunyana akaniha. No mundu ba die choyo banana. Ba engineer.
Ko bole no musakuru. Ko sendo muna mawulire. Ngawana melodire ko bole no mawulire. Yezonje ndeko ko interrogating that younger man amakukotesa those days yaba kucharging for cylinder. Most likely I'll make him get off the hook. Yes. Wamanya kudi ni solidarity ngalina abinga bana mawulire. You have a lot of solidarity.
Professional yawe.
You cannot bring a journalist to me and charge him on cylinder succeeding. Impossible, because I believe in freedom of speech, unlimited freedom of speech. Whereas the government wants limited freedom of speech. Bagana organic within certain restrictions. Bagana organic within certain ethical responsibilities. It says I'm one of those who supports Gillian Assange, who violated the entire security code in America, disclosing what the CIA and the army was doing. Abitani Connect. I am one of those who said very good. Now we know. If it wasn't for Julius Assange, we wouldn't have known that Mike Mukule is the first person to disclose to the Americans that President Yoweri Museveni has an agenda of grooming his son to be the next president. That is how we came to know it, through Julius Assange. And they said, Mike Mukula attended the party with the American ambassador, disclosed. Kumbe the American ambassador was recording and documenting it and sending it back home. So I believe in unlimited freedom of speech. So you bring me in a journalist, say, interrogate him and see what crime is he committed. I will not hold him even under the ethical code. I will look at the value of what he released and I say what he said has substance and it is important. So our national security breaches were made through a disclosure of a journalist who would as well have been hanged by the Americans. So for that reason, all communication is good. So unlimited communication, even a stupid one, is good. It's how when I believe in citizen journalism. Social media. Me, I believe in them. Let them say what is in them. If they didn't say, how would you have known what he thinks? Okay. Now, for that reason, I don't think engineers should interrogate engineers. The best people to fight crime are the CID officers. They are trained. They are IGG investigators. By the way, they are police officers who were recommended and recruited in the IGG. Instead of fighting corruption, they went to enrich themselves. They are part of the corruption puzzle that we are now fighting today. And that Balaam has found himself in the middle of it. So, second Soviet, you need to be a lone actor like he's doing. You need an entire network. You need a clear, well-defined path. Yes, not following. Because Balaam will not finish this job. That's why when I challenged them to hold him hostage there until he finishes, even if he stayed a year in Balaam, he will not finish the job. Why do you think you are the only one who can do it? Yes. Fire brigade. I want a fire brigade style. Mulironga gweze livendesi gweza wasi misa waza ne wale kenyuma muliro gukiza muna mumaso batu bakideka batu bakikola bina. So isawa jindi muliro zana ndi gwanyuka akoto and ndi wadi ma now on public demand. But that is now how popular the issue is. But that is a common sense judgment. Uganda has had populists. When the President Idi Amin, who was the best actor, an actor president Uganda has had? Alomat, South Africa operating Gabamari, Israel operating Palestine. Our medias, at that time we had very powerful medias. In Katidimas Vitamunga Jimu, Zolesa Uganda Air Force. Katanefeba Jeja, Guavone, Bamukonok to the Nigeria Felita. Then he was a paratrooper, he was a dramatist. Ngaba Mwamudi in the cricket ground, there's a helicopter. Then he dives through a parachute agwa waka asudire SMG. Oh, no one can beat Idi Amin. Those are the antics of Idi Amin. Balaam is doing the same antics in fighting corruption. Balaam, and when Idi Amin said, "Ndikugana ba volunteer baza kunjenda kukulwanisa South Africa ni Israel," many of us stand up. Balaam, no, could say line, we shall beat them. Kakunya kwale kama South Africa were oppressing. After taking the pictures, after doing all his propaganda, they gave us good food and money and said, "You go home." There will be no such thing. The president only wanted to demonstrate to the world that what South Africa and Israel are doing is bad. That is all. So this anti-corruption theatricals, this anti-corruption populism is not the solution to the issue of corruption. We must go far enough. Like in the city, completely intact. All those people they picked, those are not the main issues driving here. Now, a sample of what is happening in here. Now, when you go to the engineering department, the road is horrible. Do you know one of the richest men in Jinja is actually the city engineer on bad? If I disclose the properties they have, you say, how did you know it? Have you been investigating on the man? He's as well right that he ran away. That is a benefit. That's a benefit from scaremongering. But you don't solve the problem of corruption through scaremongering. Huh? Scaremongering is only a small part of it by making it look so bad that other people remained. Now, be a corruption, be a politician, it is even politicians who were elected, some of them just bought their positions. The city council here, the mayorship was auctioned to the highest bidder. Now, who is going to tackle that one if it is not Balaam? Oh, Balaam is serious that he wants to tackle it because that's under his local government thing. So who will tell him that even political heads occupying positions were a result of political auctioneering? They came in through corrupt means. So you cannot rely on them. So for that reason, alikuwa dealing with an entrenched problem. It needs to be tackled in a more disciplined manner. Otherwise, you will end up taking a cut also and look like the IGG investigators, like some of the anti-corruption people in the State House, and so on. It's just a habit of common to Musango, IGG. You know, I said, Namhambil, not compiling any Judy Naya, the IGG. It took them 2 years to respond. And by the time they started responding, the person had been promoted. They couldn't even handle him anymore.
Okay.
The person went.
Obonano mumbale site ngasi aho nkoma SS nimbale hai koma SS abana bafukirisa bara ne bafukiriza ho basura twali hu wa markale umafukirisa na is okay wabona mbale hai anyuma ho HM ko bona shiwandi husharura niye ngaruma be misiri ho so research no so abana so
kakano nikubole Balaam is a marketer. He was marketing anti-corruption messaging. That's what he was doing. Niyo bana bile yenga babolere basali. Nende hatingoli ni police endo erekola ku masomero ga government. Ili ni kukola masomero boss.
Ajolishe saloma, alomari. Barali somero li kurusa ko bana siringi. Bani huandika shiwandi ho ngabashandira nani. Government ngashifukirisa shibag fukirisa na PTA yafukirisa ne basali basomesa bafukirisa na bari bisomori hapo sikari. Adinga shomba out bawali sino sura hande so the confusion ili husonga kama so yenda funabi ara disenza haro machine
yes
basali mu AGM bafukirisa rero yaho ntuzura silengetsere up to now
yes
naho manyeso ngaba haji solving bareta
baba ni position paper kati position paper ya tusile ochi eke kubole no government Kenya aba ni policies zibiri zikahambagana mu masomero ge wawe da cheba kiti ngoli mu universal secondary education uli ni ko fujiri sort government inasasuja babana then ukabachajinga fees da kayo be negotiation no vote PTA binano president ngali mu campaign abolera abantu abalomati sese board of governors chiko bo PTA divide mass ba yine mesa mu kola y'abana bose basome ngakaba sasula da lokuba government inasasula ila haba amaje sata ngamwabone ngamapesa gesi government sasula gadambi lomera government ne mukagobola mu bantu befe ndimo bakalubirira mu tisasula mana bapesa da send believer in free universal education. Yes, president atunda ingo omuntu omweneza ku ground ado ko send minister niyo nda akyusemo ikolero mera president to ko president alomati munjede ukiko bofuga masomero ke basali ni ba headmaster bikala hasi bakola bye wawe nenga nga basolonze siringi no banyene bagabanana bazidi ya budika uchese bakola kwesomero alomati government ba mapesa zigaye kuimba government yaba musala gwe basomesa government yaba sasulira masanjale government yaba sasulira ebyo byose byeza mu grants zesigaba masomero ga government baba namo batusoko mapesa gabaga China mumbole headmasters bakikumwiriza kama kitu jawo right ifa kulomera nti nyi bakanda bose bae na rembu ni babatu be mu Uganda munjide kurwanise kubone kuti bana befe basomera busa kaba tusoko siringida actually appointing an umutu special presidential assistant on education mwamanyi former assistant RDC kwese balanga bati Jime Nambiro is the one in charge of that program. Jime Nambiro nga ajeta kuku implementing a program huyu hanafu na disaster katana yeye afuka abe victim of the same corruption. By the way batu beba andi bana nikana bobo kuzanga balamba ngogana kuyongera ku charging amapesa weko milioni zidatu weko milioni zitano weko milioni ate kubole tiba headmaster they are not fully innocent. The headmaster actually have been beneficiaries here kusolonza mapesa mubana
but yeah,
they are very rich. Check on them and see whether bitu byebali nabyo bifana na nijimisala je bafuna. So you will get them already handed there when you do a lifestyle audit on headmasters. Una the President Museveni actually tag our help and our support. So Balaam akakola two standards sida if we have quoted him right. Nge koma aganikati basasule liku miroko abafikiri sana. Then kumbali hayi bakasasula no way. Government ibitise kole ndwera. Gayabitise use. Nge weko ojigana you opt out. Wabone bale SS. Kawo badambisa da. Because bale SS ye opting out. Yalmet no. Fefeka gana kujoininge use ugana basali banye ne basasule na.
I have not confirmed. Dinenge na uli bari nane banyondo na yehusa ba but I have not yet confirmed.
Yes.
Na yehusa ba opting out. Na uli daye mupewa bongo Central ashikani hapo.
Yes.
Kubarazi abera no.
Yes.
Saturday.
Actually in commences.
Na bali kusa opting out.
Yes.
From government.
Commences is also planning to
so
opt out.
how much is national?
Yeah.
For the long time government President Museveni alile inguzi hukawo corruption itisi wabona hoba ebawoni woko na ulida hoba speaker wa parliament umugenzi olanya ngaluma ya first for corruption ahwetsa wabona President Museveni wafuna igg betikamya wese lifetime audit ate na ulida homurangiso lina mbonga alomara mundu ngawe bilenga alihombe ha mu Uganda is okay.
Yes.
Ni pastor motwa ati ulida
Nazi ulida katano.
Heavily sent.
Yes.
Kwetsa huryo mundu isi kwabona isi bana Uganda. I think Balaam is not the first person isi bana Uganda bamili babanga I can call it excitement in quotes kwa bani minister monitoring and evaluation is not minister abakasho hashi Peter Ogwang.
Yes.
It's our hole bindu byose sana. I think scenario ye bulambuli yoni wachitandi aho.
Yes.
So bandu abari no bakola by this is not new. Wabani minister Ogwanga achende lina bolesi sana amalida wa bamurusa mushifu.
Yes.
Beti kamyali waena life audit yafuira wa hichira audit yaberi.
Yes. Katane
aringa muri huko corruption muhuru anisa waena re Pacific front.
Yes.
Are you really fighting corruption ni kweli nga bandu bale history leo ingelisi bitse bibanga bikenda bakeza ho kurwa corruption nenga abahaga hote then ndapo kubona mbifo byota
katane sefe ba ideological cadres ba NRM kufujirisa kuti abone byafuna byeri gwanga government nyine iri ni kwihambira mu niyo hagira icyuse kobola mu bwa abantu ingone mbera ni buri kitu kigenda for example konyera wa privatizing health suja kwanze nyire kugana bujanjabi wala moto zo sasule hadi kujanjabi musuji that is preposterous tukibona bubi mabi because ko bargaining ni gumusujja wamanya nti omulwala asasula zose z'omulomere ng'ali nazo bewakaloma oti musujja gwogugana ekaafu yoyo upeni ekujanjabe akuwa ekaafu
akanabulamu
kaali ni bargaining power da ignorance ko privatizing kyakola da because ignorance is ignorance. It is a heavy price on the country.
What do you mean?
Ignorance. Batunga bachikumanya. Batunga bachikusoma. Batunga bachikuba skilled. Ligwango bawaliti. Katano ko litake beida. Kuweko mitwalo 10 niyo ajiro osome ngakako sasula mitwalo 10 za. Sasa naza kukumba somero. Ngesi basasula n'abatebeti. Umwana osasula fees na mweso osasula kati wowe niyo osasula. No mwana muonera ochi. Bolere exactly because sendo musome sana bolere lokine muonero omwana because sisa no sasula nga waonera omwana ufunamo na mofiru omwana yona ngagwire bigezo kiri reflecting yose na mwe kiri reflecting ni kwisomera tumusata tukugana bana babite nanu ungogana bana babite then uhona bakina we banzesi era nga wamanzira ayo knowledge the inasasula luina obali why do you chase the children bandi nabo maset katano bulwesi muhono omwana ngekale ango zina kuzibiro bazidatunga ekiyenza mapesa ikalako siringi because sekibale zesakosere so nikalasi nabala mwana salambe computer na mahaka kemba hazosida loko muhone kala zina kuzida why should I pay everything loko mwaka lireho you have commodified the ignorance of this child. It is a tradable item katane seke ngula mbeoda mugulisa nani mbe ole kubekala for 3 days. I am buying air, so I don't buy air. Kwafugisa ndi so meto whenever my children will have a physical problem they call me, then imbavolere when I'm able or I'm not able. I have negotiated and had peaceful relation in the masomero esibana base basomero keba bawo neboda kateves so nafune way out. However kasta uhamba bie kusoma ubihambisa basubuzi you are injuring your country. So policy liberalizing the education sector, liberalizing the health sector, liberalization for kujikandisa as early as when it came in the early 90s. Kalomera government kuti ukasurrendering to IMF and the World Bank niye kutamo vitu leka batu banyene bisasulira kabatu banyene bekodera binana kwira okwala bula as early in the 1990s bakozi benye banibiza gamapesa mu government nibeza bimbake hotel umusawani bahano malisi naira mu clinic yewe hadai government yalo pao kuna birwanis. That's where we are. Let's stop privatizing. That's what happens now. China bakola bachiena China engolo mukozi wa government konyala waba nilidwa lilongolo musauda pa wengo otambira government nakusasule kwe
head teacher government nisomeliyo
nikasomela it would not work because kigira wahamba resources the government wazi ko basai sengena nikadisomela Kampala byose ibesomesa iki buli secondary school akipenda sende ne yora bita byeki buli naira mwisomero lyose. That was criminal. Lucky I couldn't afford to purchase the books, yet I had a full library in Kibule SS. Naso da bia lisomero nasa naire wose ati abo diana stamp ya Kibule SS ili wose ili nai then nabo on good terms with the board ile aba sabati Kibule SS B ni Kibule SS A Kibule SS B but ni wose Kibule SS A ni yoy but do you know the transaction in between yabe sunda ko lipes nabo gula kwa meno mu kasomero kose naba gabira hadina bobo yaba bani babana bese barama bati bawone bati weko fitting ekibulida basi ndikira kusaba tikataneweza ku annex yefwe iliyo annex bati ni yos kibule SS annex era nabo baleta basasula ina sembo gula ko lipesa na semba gabira. You see how corruption comes. So cancer yaze bala hati sawa to the extent that kwa double level even confused about what moral and ethical standards are. Now kekubo no president aba a bit touched wamanyoti bamuforcinga busa President Yoweri Museveni
Well,
bamuforcinga busa bitu liberalization ibi privatization nabi. He was simply forced. Niba planners namba manyamasinga there's Mulenga atula mu DP niyo beza bayigisa Museveni bitu ya liberalization and privatization. There is nabandi basinga bugali bama mu DP, they were former DP people niyo bana nikakuleta policies zifana zityo kufujisana ni World Bank, kufujisana ni IMF. Museveni believed in a balanced budget. Kabirivingira ko mu bitu bye kwiwolaga mabanje ni binanoda. That is to protect the president against these pressures. Bamwe nga kakufujisana ni World Bank ni IMF. Government is akuba overthrown atefe kwa mamuluta. Bamwe katano yimbaka middle class. Middle class ya mahali because you must have capital. Bana nikabiba the government zene niba setting up business. Bana nikakukola zidiru zili fwe. Bana nika procurement processes zebo with. Hatinga bafunire property president Almond. Kubabu hena mwe kole kutenda bamwe amaje sebati no. Ukababu wada uko mapesa gali mu Uganda. Ngabahirire hanze niyo bubi. Gasasiringi biba mu government. Disigala mu Uganda bati opa mutawana da. Gabone. Kuimbaka middle class ya Uganda na yabitire mu process of almost 30 years. Now, kuibasa kuti where they have reached. Baba beza gaba bifi baliko ni some property. Baba beza gaba bachamu ba looting enough. So, cherero kiwe kwamba ti yes wahira bimala katano munyala kuva. What is the government doing now? Ilikuwa mapesa gasinga bugali ati ibisamo bantu babulijo ni basawo bone SACCOs ni policies za PDM mioga ni bisigani. Why? It is part of the process ye kuimbaka middle class. Middle class ni a group inyala kuibasa yakola investments zaba mu magoba gaza gawera banika kuba services zese munyalisa kusasulira. Iyo kayebenze basa yenare muda yenze basa ya mahanzi. Now ibyo nga byagendere byafukire the new normal kwaloma kuti na yatibona bacho balikudya zingundo zose bamala balikumala amadwaliro gose balikumala buli kintu. Government kiri ku functioning ngada akabwero si wandu bagana batunda busa empinge mit uli abamulonde ko batani ku kusasula akuyesele mali now usasula ka roro katundika but pa ko second umba busada ani kupako ni now inzi basayonga izili inge mkwabonanga yafukire corrosive kagira president alamera ati ni basa middle class iri hoyimala kabali kuhenza babifi bakadeda babalekere batikale tiwezo wakole factory wakole farm so wakole sile banka yene biwole sasilingi and so on. You have become now rich. Ngakwala mele ku Ugandan capital is now there because you need what is called a national bourgeoisie. So they have a national bourgeoisie now. What is the reason why they are continuing to steal? What is the reason why they are continuing to mess up local government? Now, having a national bourgeoisie means Uganda can now stand on its own to invest, to develop, to industrialize, to secure, and to build. Katano, the new moral ethic is the new battle. Battle, the Balamos are part of that equation. Ataba amire mu private sector. Kagira ko nikuba defending at the same time kuba strengthening. Bazemu maso. However, na your government ini kuba so clear in terms of policy guidelines, in terms of where they will reach, in terms of what they do. Otherwise, in the balekere busa, again, laissez-faire. Do you know I can also begin fighting corruption from here? That's an agenda. I go and arrest because as a citizen, by the way, we have never invoked our right to arrest offenders as citizens. Then I report you to police after I've done the arrest. I can do a citizen arrest of the corrupt. Kuna babenga ngenzo kerike framework enda ikajire send kulomba government itewo framework enda. Yes, kujya kwa predicting who is going to do what. Paka kumu tu sembai. So that bala mwaka soda de horo ayafata alone da abeni ba muyenda abeni ba kolabandi abeni ba nyarabayenda. Otherwise ku exposing corruption senga na kusimba the media teams zilikuja na ni Balaam. You are sending a very clear message. It is risky. Ate kibe sustained, but we need a framework. Government position paper on corruption. First, we following. Chairman NRM, what will he do? What will members of NRM do? Because this is their government. I have warned them that they can only run this government. Tayo government igindi NRM kutusa koida. If this is waiting for their government, Nup is waiting for their government. The only government NRM people have is this one. So if they don't do the best now, when are they going to do it? Kama liko ni time yindida kajira kugana Balaam abe successful, kajira kugana the battle against corruption ibe pinpointed. Security veza ni operations but sting operation is kugana when we sting it really bites. Kugana where basically mama bush babe convicted atani DSB ba very covered. Bigoba the government bikole milimo yayo kale knowledge of seni ba seti Balaam itaga buyedi na ye itaga buyedi. He needs staff love. Balaam can become a villain. Balaam can become a hero of this anti-corruption fight. We shouldn't allow him to degenerate because Fafenga NRM, this is the only government we can run. So we must be tougher than everybody else. Those other people talking probably want to divert us from focused corruption fight. So kushwaza babifi when kuti gamis. Okay. When kuti government yefe iba successful mukulwanyisa engozi ni ekuwe services zirimo makuru.
Okay. Yes. Kale umodo mukwala full life update na simile wanyana kubanga uchendeni nafwe huweni kuka basa wetaka ni basa hawengo menelesa campaign ya Minister of Local Government Balaam Hagara isaliho iyo hubo na barashini baranihila anihila bali bashina bali bewongo huru ram government service nza na meba expose the corrupt from the local government nyeso belengo menelesa ingelisi belenge chenda mbisebevu kisu atandihile Mbale district hata hebula mbuli na misindwa habele mishiri mbashano she Mbale kwera honi Mbale district hobele mbungo honofi bantu bakalibisa babelenga bawambiwa abandi bafuna bond osubira kuri kuwenzesa kuna bawo yabani kumusango bafunaniwe nibo bahani kumusango tahahumanya nga bamwambira mu kamera bihawe irena tanenga hobenga hulinda iwiki ino kududa anda manafa ni wiki ino ni Minister Balaam ali kubanga atya irabe bududa ni basa ni babelenga hola bareni babelenga bamulindira I think tomorrow or Thursday wiki ishina iwudud nyeso kubanga hola bareni kubanga hutse kene kubenga hukobola ni kukabasa kubenga hobenga zisonga zashinde tse huru bara hwailo si wanu runa hurundi ngal hol ronda hushola ta I think 23rd tsalo bara women council 28 holo ro si wanu so kuna banga hukobola abenga ahupira heto chimusonga sonatso kubona ingelisi hubambonga zichenda mu hwaulije bari ro si wanu na bakaba lipesi andi basubiza ambire sande tsingudo mapesi bakamisa wa habenga hukobola na bihobenga kubimenelesa manya banga muchendeni nafwe bose banga hulondela ku TikTok mukwala live update oba YouTube channel tumukwala full life update ni kimikutu ichindi chihali mitu yaratawe na banga hubole songa yo isuberengo bona mu campaign ya honorable local government na Minister Balaam isali hubanga atho atiyatandi hile masaba mebukisu nebenge tsambisinza binda wenga banindila sibananga baridari ya sandu wa Bushenda alinde.